Absolute big news, Slop family. Paradox on the HOI4 channel have gone ahead and released their 10-year anniversary special. A very interesting video if you want to go watch it. I don't know if you have the attention span though, little Timothy, if you're on the Slop channel. But you should go watch it, especially if you're into your HOI4 history. Give it a whirl. And it's kind of rude just to not actually focus on the contents of that video. But we're only going to be focusing on the very end because there's been a reveal. You see, at the very end of the video, they teased what is next for HOI4, that being what would be the next big DLC. And it was very clearly a shot of the 101st Airborne about to jump out of a plane. AKA, that's right, you've all been waiting, it's time for the Guatemala DLC. Just kidding, it's very obviously a United States of America DLC. And already, my mind is going 100 miles an hour trying to figure out what will be in this DLC. First thing I want to talk about is what the big feature will be. Usually these big DLCs do have features. If it's not a big DLC and it's more akin to Thunder at Our Gates, where it kind of had like a mini feature, obviously being the HQ system, I think that would actually be more fitting. You see, I've been seeing the comments for a while, and even I felt it, that I think we're at the point now where the game feels pretty feature complete. I do reckon that Paradox could turn it around in some regard. I don't know. I'm not going to say they're not going to be able to, add something that I haven't thought of. The only thing I could really think of is just a rework of diplomacy, specifically around the ideas that a lot of people still get annoyed about with guarantees or international world tension, stuff like that. I reckon you could probably get a good feature reworking the, international system in the game. Actually having some sort of, at the time, would be the League of Nations mechanic instead of just generic world tension would probably make a lot more sense, and mods have already done at this point, and then obviously reworking the diplomacy system around that. It could be interesting, but obviously League of Nations does go kablamo, and then you could, rework it another way. Having some sort of general international organizations that also just other people are a part of, I don't know, I think this game is probably stretching the imagination of me at this point. But if you were going to play the US, if you were going to do a diplomacy rework, and obviously reworking of the international order in the game, world tension, having something here like the League of Nations, it would make sense that the US would be the DLC to do that. The UN was obviously a big part of both kind of before and after the war, being obviously the League of Nations. I'm just rambling at this point. Diplomacy, that's the only thing I think they could rework. Now though, more importantly, what do we want from a US focus tree? Where is the wiggle room for a bit of fun? Obviously, the US focus tree is pretty lacking. It's not very flexible, there's not a lot to do, and every time I play the US, which I do like to play a lot of US games in my free time, you just run out of content immediately. Obviously, it makes sense that the US on the historical path doesn't exactly have a lot of expansion to be doing, and even if they did have some sort of expansionist ideas or something you could do, a lot of your what is expansion tree for the diplomatic and just every path you do as a US is just war goal at bottom, and you get attack bonus. Wowee, we're so blessed. Actually, I don't think any of these even give you war goals, do they? I could have sworn maybe it's if you do the alt history path, one of them turns into a war goal, you get a decision, don't you? Oh, you do. You get intervention in the Americas, and then you get the decisions to enforce the Monroe Doctrine. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, US tree lacking in the fun department, I'll be real. A lot of the focuses are very dated, very just inconsequential, especially for just playing a normal game. They did add in the shared tree for the new DLC, which is cool. I've not yet to even do it because I haven't played anyone that could really start it yet. So that's a little bit extra for the US to do if you can be bothered, but the historical path I do want to just go through just so you get an idea of how boring it is. So we have a few mechanics for the US, and these are obviously all going to be reworked with the DLC, obviously being the Great Depression and also our isolationism. That is a big part of what the DLC is obviously going to be. And then getting rid of your isolationism and the Great Depression depends on your support in Congress and the Senate, which you can get by, guess what, just doing a bit of lobbying, because it's America, baby! And then when you whittle your way through your support, you can then do focuses. Getting rid of the Great Depression with the historical route just is you getting a timer run down, going on this little path right here, and then also the historical path for the Neutrality Act over here, which does not take long for you to get giant awakes, which is then, funnily enough, where your content ends. So when you get into the war is when you run out of focuses to do. Just think about that. That's all you really get up to for the US, and a lot of the US's tree is just shared between its alt history paths. You have the historical alt history path over here, which is limited intervention, where you get yourself a couple early war goals, I will add. So if you want to go fight the Japanese, you can do it, but you do have to get your war support up, I believe, beforehand. I can't remember. I never do this because it makes actually going up on your stuff here really expensive. And quickly, we're just going to go through the alt history paths, which I haven't mentioned. Obviously, limited intervention, I never do, kind of sucks. And then you have the communist path over here, which again, the US tree is just so weird and how it's laid out, because you can technically do a whole bunch of stuff and then keep going on the historical route. It's really weird. I don't like it. It's a mess. And the path I really never do is the Confederacy, bringing it back. I think it's kind of dumb. Not in, obviously, old stupid paths in HOI4 dumb, like bringing back the Mughals. Obviously, Confederacy's just as bizarro as that. It's not very fun. I think there could have been a lot more interesting things you could have done with an isolationist US, which is obviously what this would have ended up being with the Silver Legion. But it just kind of is a nothing path, and also just tiresome to get. Having to bring every state that breaks away in the Civil War back into the Union, it's a lot of political power. You have to do all of these decisions over here as well that take forever, and I just always forget to do it. Yeah, it's not very good. The best part about it is if you do obviously do the intervention in the Americas and reaffirm Monroe Doctrine, you can demand decolonization from the UK and France. You can get some pretty useful resources down here if they accept. Obviously, you're rolling the damn dice there, but it is kind of good in that regard. But overall, I would probably get the whole Confederacy in a rework and just do like an isolationist or America First type deal. That would be a lot more interesting, in my opinion. And then if they're gonna do a communist path, I mean, it could just be built upon what they've had here already. It would be nice not to do a civil war, but if you're gonna do one for America, it would obviously have to be for the communist side. I think you could probably, if you're doing like an American First thing, go right on the Americans. You could probably do something, I don't know, business plotty. I'm throwing out things that Paradox are probably already, they're writing down. Yeah, I can see like some sort of Ford takeover, if there was going to be a meme path, right, it's got to involve Ford. Some business plot, some Ford stuff, it's going to be weird. I know it. If they keep going the meme path, which they should definitely throw one in, or go super meme and have, I don't know, usurp the British Empire. Wouldn't that be great? Monarchy US, baby. But yeah, focus tree wise, I reckon that's where they're gonna go. This really does need a lot of love. It's boring. It runs out way too quick. A lot of the stuff is just so inconsequential. You don't ever need it. You don't use it. If we're talking about features, I reckon diplomacy might be the big one. International organizations, potentially League of Nations. Get rid of the globe that just sets on fire. Maybe. Or realistically, I would just do no big features like that, because they're probably just going to mess it up. People are going to complain, and find something small like the Army HQ system and work with that, I guess. We did get the obvious teaser of being the 101st Airborne, so we can kind of predict potentially that might be a suggestion of mechanics as well, a more in-depth expanded raid system, the paratroopers rework. But really, with that meme from Always Sunny with Charlie and the, you know what I'm on about. I'm Pepe Sylvian over here. That's what I was going to say. Question is, though, who is going to get reworked with the US? There is a lot of speculation I can imagine of what this is going to be. And there's a lot of actual concrete evidence of what it could be and what it couldn't be. A lot of people are thinking, you know, US, well, they could also throw the UK in there and rework them. And it is possible. But I think if you get a US-UK rework combined together, that probably means HOI4 is coming sooner than you think. If the UK gets its own rework, then that means, you know, HOI4's got another couple years in development, I reckon, if you consider they do one big DLC at the end of the year, every year. So the US would be 2026, UK 2027, potentially France in the mix at some point as well, and then HOI4 maybe 2028. You know, it could be out there. It could be out there. But if they did a US-UK rework straight up off the bat, I mean, that could mean like 2027 HOI4? Question mark? You never know. You never know. I'm going to reel that. I think UK-US rework combined is a little bit of a far-fetched idea. I would love to see it, and I think it would be really, really great if they did it, but it just seems a little bit, you know, far in terms of what they... Because if we go off no compromise, no surrender, all right? What did they add? They added reworks for the warlords. We had a China tree, a Japan tree, and then a Philippine tree. So if we carry that over to the US, obviously we get a US tree, and then we can imagine one of the nations that also got an update with the US would also get an updated tree. That could be the UK, or the UK could get potentially the warlord treatment. Doesn't sound great, does it? Or we could have ourselves a Mexico rework on their tree, or a Dominion of Canada rework on their tree, both of which I think, you know, they would be a bit hit or miss. These trees aren't terrible. They're not the best. They're kind of middle of the road in my opinion. But would Paradox just release a DLC that only adds content to nations that already have a DLC for them? So in No Compromise, No Surrender, obviously they reworked China, the warlords, and Japan, but then they threw in a new nation, being the Philippines. I think you can probably expect something similar with this DLC. US rework, potentially Canada, potentially Mexico, and then a new nation in this region that doesn't have a tree. I think if it had to be anyone, it's gonna either be Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela. I don't know which of these it's gonna end up being, but that's the only wiggle room they have, I think. It wouldn't be the best content, I imagine, but that's all you can do. I just don't know if they would commit a whole DLC that adds no new content for nations without it. Would it just be a rework of existing DLCs that already have content in the game? That'd be a new one for Paradox. Because even with Got a Damn Wrong, Belgium, a new nation with no content, got content, and then we got the Austria-Germany reworked together. So I think we're stretching it a little bit. If we're being safe, obviously US. If we're being hopeful, UK. If we're being realistic, US, Canada, Cuba. Mark my words, baby. Now, not saying I wouldn't love to see a US tree, a brand new one with a brand new UK tree, but is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Because if that does happen, another scenario I could see is US, UK, Ireland. Yeah! That would be one hell of a DLC. It would be a, like I said, straight out the park home run for Paradox if they did that. Probably on terms with Got a Damn Wrong, if it wasn't, if, you know, it launches, it's not an absolute buggy mess. And we do also get the new content that is Ireland. But again, that really will show the development of HOI4's timeline, really, because if HOI4 is coming out sooner than you think, if they're just going to knock two big players that are in line for a rework in one DLC, that doesn't leave anyone else for a DLC other than France. And that could be the last DLC. France DLC. Would that be impressive? I mean, a lot of people would enjoy it. I'd enjoy it. I love playing France. It's just very samey to play them. It's obviously all speculation, and there is nothing to go off just yet. It's really just throwing something at the wall and hoping something will stick, but I'm trying to think of every possibility here. Oh, I got it. Greenland focus tree. And that's all we've got to go off at the moment. That is the new announcement. It's just a little tiny bit of a teaser to see where Paradox is going next, and we know it's 100% going to be the US, which a lot of people have already predicted, but where they expand to with the US and what they add, oh man, I hope it is a good one, because I love playing the US so damn much. US and the Soviets have got to be my two favorite nations in this game, and I really hope they just nail it, knock it out the park. You know, you get a good historical focus trait. I think that's the most important, obviously, and then you get like a good alt history path and then a wacky path. That's what it should be. But I'm excited. I really am excited, looking forward to this one. US, again, one of my favorite nations to play in the game. If we get some sort of UK rework or even just a little touch up with this DLC to bite us over for a better DLC later down the line, that would be amazing. But oh man, I am so looking forward, and we're going to obviously follow along with Paradox when they come back with some little insights for us to what this is going to be. Hey, maybe this isn't even the next big DLC. Maybe it's just a little DLC like Thunder and Arcades. You never know. There's so much to think about. But I would love to hear your ideas down below in the comments section. Are you fed up with DLCs? I know a lot of people are, but I do think if this game is going to be left off, never to be touched again, the US definitely needs a rework. 100%. US, UK, France. If they just got focus trees that were up to scratch with the modern standard, this game would never need another update. But until then, I think they definitely do. Obviously, we're all going to complain about the price of said DLC and the buggy features and the new feature that gets added that nobody will ever use and the bloat added. But man, the focus tree I'm excited for. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I want it. So if you're excited and you want to leave your thoughts down below, I'm going to be reading them all to try and figure out where this is going to go. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe to the Slop channel, and I guess you'll see me soon with some dev blogs at some point.